Oh my. It was the night before Christmas and all through the house. Merry Christmas. Well, it's Christmas Eve, New Song family, and I wanted to share some thoughts with you. I hear these sleigh bells ringing, but what I really need, I got a fever, and there's only one cure for my fever, and it's more cowbell. That's what. There we go. Oh, crazy lady. What bells are those?
Jingle.
Jingle bells.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yes. So it's the night before Christmas, and just like the old Christmas song, the weather outside is frightful. It's down in the 20s, and it's been snowing for, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours, and the roads are rough out there. And maybe you're thinking, with all this snow, this is the first white Christmas we've had in many years in the Kingsport area. So maybe you're thinking that'll bring the magic back to Christmas for you. It's been a rough year, and so what we need is a white Christmas to bring the magic back. Well, really, there's nothing magical about Christmas. And the Christmas story, there's no magic to it, but there is mystery. The mystery that God would come in the flesh and become a human and live a full life and experience all of the elements of humanity so that he could die on the cross and take away our sins for us. This year, 2020, has been a completely different year for all of us. So I feel like that if I were to have a couple of key words to describe the year 2020 to people years from now, I really think that in my mind, the words that are going to come to the surface are going to be fear, separation, and rejection. And interestingly enough, when I read Luke's account of the birth of Jesus, those are the words that I think of as I look at Joseph and Mary and the trip that they take to bring Jesus into this world. So, Luke chapter 2, Joseph, he's having to take part in the decree from Caesar Augustus and be registered. It's a tax thing. They're trying to register the whole world so that they know who they can tax and what regions to tax, and they want to make sure they're collecting what's due. And so, verse 4, um, Luke chapter 2, and Joseph went up also from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth, because that's where they live, to Judea, and of course in Jerusalem, in Judea, uh, that's their home territory, right? The tribes have broken up the different territories together. So he goes to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem. And in case you didn't know, Bethlehem in Hebrew means house of bread. And so he's going to the city of David, Bethlehem, because he's of the house and the lineage of David. So according to his family heritage, that's where he has to register. So, verse 5, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, they're engaged, they're not married yet, who was with child. And while they were there, the time came for her to give birth, right? This is the Christmas story, right? Silent night, holy night. Here we go. And so, verse 7, she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling cloths and laid him in a manger because there was no place for them at the inn. So, remember, I'm talking about fear, I'm talking about separation, and I'm talking about rejection. That's kind of what this year feels like for a lot of us. And so Mary gives birth to her firstborn son. She is the one who wraps him in swaddling cloths. So that tells us that there's no midwife, right? And we know that in the ancient biblical times, it was very common for young women to be engaged somewhere between ages 14, 15, or 16. So Mary is young, right? She's a young teenager here when she gives birth, but there's no midwife there. She's by herself. She's separated from friends, separated from her real home, separated from her family. And she's the one who wraps Jesus herself. Um, Very common practice for the first year of childhood. for them to keep them tight in swaddling clothes to help them to feel comfortable and secure, right? She lays them in a manger because there's no place for them at the inn. Now, if they're in David's not quite hometown, but in his family's region, his hometown, why does nobody welcome them in? Well, they're not married, and Mary's pregnant, so there's something scandalous in the minds of the people going on there. And of course, they're separated from the people they know. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of concern going on, and there's this essence of rejection here by the fact that there's no family that takes them in. There's no room at the inn, so there's a lot of church history and tradition that says that they're probably in some type of barn or cave. Seems pretty bleak. Seems kind of oppressive. Seems kind of dark. Doesn't seem like a Hallmark card at all. And that's kind of where we find ourselves right now in 2020. Not the happiest time that we've had as a nation or as a people or as a culture. Again, we're facing a lot of fear. There's a lot of concerns about the future of the economy. There's concerns about the pandemic that we're in. We seem to be engulfed with concerns and with fears. And I say all that to say we seem to be in good company because the context that we feel ourselves in right now seems to be very much the context that surrounds the coming of Jesus. And of course, the story doesn't just end there. That's kind of the beginning, at least of the human life of Jesus before he'll fulfill the messianic prophecies and before he'll end up in Jerusalem, where he'll end up crucified and then resurrected, and then bringing the hope and the promise and the blessings of what becomes the Christian faith. So, this Christmas, as we hopefully can celebrate time with friends, with family, with loved ones, as kind of dark and as bleak as the times feel around us, remember some of the best stories start with some of the bleakest beginnings, and then hopefully they go on to a better ending. But I say again, the context where Jesus enters into our existence probably felt a lot like what we're feeling now. So maybe this Christmas will have a little bit more significance than some of the past as we touch base and as we kind of reconnect. I hope you have a great Christmas. I hope you have a safe Christmas, a healthy Christmas. I hope you have a Christmas that's filled with love and peace and joy and lots of goodness. Merry Christmas, God bless, and we'll see you soon.